Welcome to Troweling Down, Biblical Archaeology for the 21st Century. I'm Gary Byers. This is Dr. Steve Collins, our own personal rock star, and we brought three of his best friends right with us here today to share with you some of the artifacts, the finds from our excavation at el-Hammam. We've been digging the site for 15 years, and one of the things that you were looking for and hoping to find was the palace at the city that was located at el-Hammam. We found the palace.
We did find the palace.
And in the palace have been a lot of interesting things. Overview just a couple of them, and then introduce our three favorite friends here.
Well, one of the things about the palace is that it has its own special pottery.
Yes.
I mean, we've excavated all around the city, lower city, upper city, and of course the palace is located at the pinnacle of the upper city, with a great view of all. Nobody in the lower city was not visible to the king unless they were inside their house. Yeah. But if they were out and about, the king could see everything. So it's a perfect location. And the pottery is different outside the palace. It's just normal everyday stuff. It's just, we call it commonware, and maybe one of these days we'll look at that in one of our episodes. But we actually find lots and lots of it, and it's just plain. It's just the plain kind of stuff that you'd have every day. Jars, bowls, juglets. But in the palace, those commonware type vessels that you would use for every day are actually surface painted. We call it multi-slipped cross-wiping, and it's painted in various colors. You'll have 2 or 3 different colors painted on each one, and they're all unique. Each one's unique, but they're painted beautifully for use in the palace. And the palace ware is unique. And by the way, we've studied this with other scholars, and nobody has ever seen this stuff before.
We'll have to bring it on and introduce it.
Yeah, we'll have to bring it on and introduce it. But anyway, there are many special things about the palace. We've excavated much of the service quarters, the cooking quarters, storage, jars and storage. Even got grain that we were able to radiocarbon date.
Yep.
And all of that. We'll have to bring some of that on too.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably haven't seen ancient carbonized grain.
And maybe we could bring the lady on who ate a piece of it.
Yeah, we could do
that could be good too.
Well, I've done it too. But anyway, you could say you had a little bit of food from 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's probably crazy, but we did it.
It was.
So what are these guys? These are from the palace. Now, it sort of looks like, ostrich egg, goose egg, chicken egg.
Kind of.
Kind of looks. Now they're all stone. They're all made out of chert, which is kind of a low-grade flint, and it's a silica-based material. And each one of these has been purposefully knapped and smoothed into this shape.
And when you say knapped, what we mean is someone has taken another stone and has chipped it down, and then did a polishing to it, and they truly are polished.
They're truly polished.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they're very, very smooth.
And so you got a big one like an ostrich egg that fits into the palm of my hand.
And here's a small version, same material, same basic design.
Yeah, about the size of a chicken egg.
Here's a medium-sized one, but you can notice that this one is blown up.
And we talked about this.
In our last episode or so, we talked about this one being heated up and having exploded, but we put it back together, and basically it's the same as the others. It's the same shape, it's just a little bit smaller. And so what are they? We've been going back, and by the way, we think in our objects we have other registered objects that look very much like this.
Yeah, we're going back to look, aren't we?
We're going back to look. Are they, you want to think pounder, but we have dozens of pounders from the palace kitchen. Grinders and pounders for preparing food. We have lots of those. None of them look like this.
No, nothing like that.
We have burnishing stones and other things, but this particular shape just simply matches that one. So does this one. What are these? And they seem to be denominated we have this on the large end so far, and then we have this one on the low end, but I think we have even some smaller ones now.
So we get kind of a
And
Papa
so
bear, Mama bear, and baby bear.
It looks like they're denominated. Now, if they are truly denominated, then these are weights.
An ancient weight in the Bible world, what would that be like?
Well, of course, they didn't have coins in the Old Testament period, especially back in the Torah period.
Yep.
What they used were scales, pan scales, and you put your weight over here, and you put your equal weight of
produce, whatever.
Of silver.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you weigh it out. You say, well, this omer of grain or this pile of whatever it is, product, costs so much. Well, then you give me some silver, and I take my weight and I balance it out, and you pay me. And so they use balance scales. And so these large stones, down to this small stone, were the various denominations of the weights that could be put in the balance scale. Now, I've seen balance scales. In fact, we found a pair of balance scales at Tal el-Hammam. Now, that was from a different period than these, but still, that was pretty standard for all periods.
Yes.
But you couldn't put this on a balance scale. You couldn't put it. Now, this one is as big as my hand.
Yep.
And it's very large and it's pretty heavy. So a balance scale, a small, petite balance scale is not going to handle this big weight. It might handle this one.
The smallest
one, about the size of a chicken egg, but it's not going to handle this one. And so what kind of scale, balance scale, would you use? Probably some sort of a bag system where you could put this weight in a bag, like a leather pouch, and hang it on the balance scale. Hang it on one side and the equal weight of junk silver or whatever on the other side.
So we always think of these little pans that you would put stuff on, and you would in many cases, but these large stones, you probably wouldn't do that. You'd take the pans off and put a little bag on each side.
A little bag on each side. Yeah. Or even have a larger balance.
A whole different kind of scale. Yeah.
So that's what we think these are, because transactions were being done in antiquity. Remember, Abraham became a very, very wealthy man as a nomad, as a tent-dwelling nomad, during the Middle Bronze II period, during the time of the destruction of Sodom. He was very wealthy. Well, if he was buying and selling meat from his sheep and goats, and if he was selling wool, and if he was selling other commodities, he would probably own a set of these weights, as would the king, as would any entrepreneur doing any kind of a transaction, whether agricultural or a herder of some sort, a shepherd, a flock owner. You'd probably want to have a set of weights, or you'd have access to somebody with a set of weights when you sold things.
And you would assume in the royal palace where these were found, and especially these two larger size, this would be kind of royal stuff. This would be the kind of thing you would expect the king to have.
The average guy is not going to be buying or selling anything in silver, chunks and pieces of silver. Shekels are called.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to be buying or selling stuff to this weight. Only a king or someone who's representing a royal house would probably be able to match this big stone in an equal weight of silver.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is, remember, Joseph was sold into slavery for what? 20 pieces of silver. Now, 20 pieces of silver would be about, I know my shekels pretty well, and this little small, about chicken egg size weight is probably about 10 shekels. So about double this size would be the price of Joseph's enslavement. And so people need to think in those terms, how much was a human life worth? How much was a slave worth in the Middle Bronze Age? And 20 shekels is the going price in all the trade documents that have been examined. Kenneth Kitchen's work on that is excellent. So anyway, here it is, possibly a weight. That would be about 10 shekels worth. and about double that would be the price of Joseph's enslavement. And so here are weights.
All of them coming from the palace at Tal el-Hammam from the Middle Bronze Age, the palace that was terribly destroyed, and this middleweight was one we talked about in the last episode. This piece of chert nodule just has been shattered, and you actually put back together about 20 pieces to give us this beautiful look.
Yep.
And all of this came from that palace area, and was part of the destruction matrix, we call it, and it feel like it fits the story of the city of Sodom.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So here we are, getting very up close and personal. You know, and artifacts like this, like when you lay your hand around this, you know that somebody else's hand or many other hands in antiquity were laid right there where your hand is.
Yeah.
So these are like little time machines. Artifacts are like little time machines.
Little time machines.
To take us back to a different era.
And especially when you could relate this one to two of these as the price of silver that was weighed out for Joseph's purchase as a slave. Well, Tal el-Hammam is one of those archaeological sites in the Holy Land that says so much to us about the ancient world and the Bible world in particular, and of course that was our big interest. You're welcome to come and join us at Tal el-Hammam. We dig every year, and we'd love to have you join us. And if they want to join us, how do they contact us?
They can call Dr. Glenda Austin in our office, and that would be 505, that's the area code here in New Mexico, 505-33-BIBLE.
33
B-I-B-L-E.
B-I-B-L-E.
Yeah, 505-33-BIBLE, and ask Glenda. She can give you all the details, or you can go to digsodom.com.
digsodom.com.
Or talalhammam.com, if you can remember that.
Yes, either way. And if you'd like to join us, both to dig with us as well as to tour in the Holy Land, we would love to have you to be with us. So next time, we're going to talk a little bit about biblical synchronisms. And Steve just gave us one as we talked about Joseph. We'll talk about what the Bible says and what archaeology and history says. And when they line up, we feel like we've really identified biblical people, places, and things. This is Troweling Down Biblical Archaeology for the 21st Century. We're glad to have you with us today, and we look forward to seeing you next month. First Friday of every month, we're back on the air. Look forward to talking to you then.